Let's get started, Georgie.
Let's get started.
This is not a sponsor of the podcast. I wish it was.
Not yet.
If you're retired, drink these. If you're not retired, don't drink them. They're not good for you.
All right. So you have come back from retirement 100 times. How
Yes.
many times have you stopped drinking these? 0.
Depends on what you mean, how long. Like, sometimes I can go a day without them, 2 days without them.
Sometimes you can go
It's not a
about
good
3
idea.
hours.
Do not drink Monster. But Coach
But-
Travis, I need to get fired up right now because I am excited. Well, honestly, I don't need to get fired up, but still.
Yeah.
How does it feel, Georgie? Liverpool, we talked the last couple weeks, or the last month or so, we've talked about Manchester United in absolute shambles.
Yeah.
And now Liverpool, absolute shambles. Each week, you keep telling me this each week that you're not worried.
I'm still not
You are
worried.
worried.
I'm still
You
not
are
worried.
worried.
No. Look, I told
Georgie
you.
is worried.
No, I'm not worried. Okay, it's gonna sound contradictive, but for example, the past 4 or 5 years, if there was no Liverpool, Premier League will be shit. You'll be seeing Manchester City run the league. No, I'm gonna put it out there because it needs to be told. Premier League will be shit. Nobody will be interested in the Premier League because Manchester City will be 20 points above everyone and nobody will be watching. You will be interested. The only thing you'll be interested in is the relegation battle and top 4. So thankfully, we have Liverpool.
So you are going back to the history. You're going to be one of those guys again.
So there's a point to this. So past 4 or 5 years, Liverpool have been the team to challenge Manchester City until the last day of the season. 2 or 3 times by 1 point we'll miss out. 3 times Jurgen Klopp in the past 5 or 6 years has had more points than Sir Alex Ferguson when they won the title.
This man came prepared. He did his research because he knew you had to explain yourself.
No, I don't have to explain myself. It's just we have to put this in perspective because the standards have been set so high by Liverpool and Manchester City in the Premier League that now we're looking at Liverpool dropping points in the first 3 games of the season, 2 draws and a loss. And we're saying, oh my God, let's panic. Let's just put this in perspective as well. This is the first time Liverpool have lost in 2022. So like all this being said,
but you can't. But the problem is, it's a new team, so it doesn't the record doesn't really matter because it's the first time that they've lost. Yes, but they don't have the team. It's not like we've only lost once in the last however long because the last part where you guys were winning everything was last season.
Yeah. So back to now. This is the main point, is Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp have been absolutely amazing the past 5 years. Last year, they've played every single game possible. They've got to every single final possible. They've done everything perfect. Mm-hmm. The point I'm trying to make is that we can't get caught up in, yes, are Liverpool 2 draws and a loss? Is that a good way to start the season? Absolutely not. Manchester City started last year. They didn't start the season in a good way and ended up winning the league. So to say
the league is gone for you guys.
No, it's not gone.
It's gone. It's out of your hands.
No, it's not out of our hands.
It's over.
No, I don't think so. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm not panicking. And if there's one thing that Jurgen Klopp and the staff and everybody around Liverpool has proven to us is they figure it out at some point. So yes, it's not the best start. Obviously 2 points from 3 games, it's not good. But like I said in the last episode, the past few, once it's 7 or 8 games in and Liverpool is struggling to be in the top 4 or within like a point or 2 of the top 4 or like 10, 15 points behind, first place, then I'll say, okay, it's time to panic, like what's going on. But there's plenty of time. This is the good thing. It's early on in the season.
Right.
And there's still plenty of time to figure it out. I mean, you can say whatever you're going to say, and then I'll come back to this. I have a lot to say.
I'm just saying each week it's getting to where you keep saying you've had to repeat yourself weekly that you're not panicking.
I'm not panicking.
I'll tell you what the biggest issue has been. You guys lost Sadio Mane. And as much as you want to talk about anything else, with Sadio Mane on the field for you guys in those first 3 games, you get a result. Not saying you have to panic. Maybe I'm over exaggerating because obviously it's 3 games in. So 3 games in won't make a crucial difference if they can come back and just continue to and start doing well again. So 3 games is not a big deal when you look at a total of 38 games. However, like you said, Liverpool has set a high standard. So for a team of such high standard to not have a single win in their first 3 games is a little bit of, maybe not cause to panic, but cause to concern a little bit. So you talked about their depth. They don't have very good depth.
I tweeted this.
And they've had a lot of injuries, and we talked about this last week as well. every team in the Premier League besides Manchester City has no depth.
No.
They have a good starting 11. Manchester United doesn't even have a good starting 11.
See, this is the difference. The difference is Manchester United yesterday. It's a complete different because it's a derby game, and did you see their bench?
Ronaldo,
we have Wan-Bissaka that can come in. You have Van de Beek that can come in.
But none of those guys have been game changers even in the past season. They barely even played in the last season.
Okay.
Van de Beek.
Van de Beek played at Everton, didn't have the best. He played every game for Everton, but he wasn't the best. But what I'm trying to say is you have the depth, you have experienced players. Liverpool had 2 goalkeepers. Now we didn't even have our second goalkeeper yesterday. We had a third string and an academy player because we couldn't field a roster, and we had 3 academy players. The best player that would have came from looking at the bench. If it's a tie game and you need an attacking option, who do you? Fabio Carvalho. That's the guy you brought in just now. The kid is 19 with no Premier League.
You were raving about him.
I am. I think he's gonna be a really good player. But Harvey Elliott, Carvalho, these should not be the players that come in to be their main people that change the game. These guys are coming in like imagine the pressure you put on Harvey Elliott, 18 years old, 19 years old. Okay, playing one of the biggest games at Manchester United, and you have to perform at your best with Milner and Henderson behind you. Manchester United, their bench had Van de Beek, Luke Shaw, Ronaldo, Martial, Maguire. I mean, yeah, he didn't start, but like
Maguire. Did you listen to yourself?
Okay. 80
Maguire on the bench, like as if he's adds a lot of depth. There's a reason why he was on the bench.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's on the bench. But would you take Maguire? Or would you take a random kid who's never played in the Premier League?
I would take a random kid who's never played in the Premier League.
No,
before.
you would
I would
not.
take you as a center back, George.
You would not. I mean,
over
thank
Maguire.
you. I appreciate that, but you would not.
Finally, Ten Hag has figured that out.
Yeah, but the whole point is that they have if something went wrong, like Elanga came out, Martial went on. Martial was going to start originally. That was part of the plan. Martial is a good player,
but
you don't have. Liverpool don't have any game changers that were willing to do that.
Here's my point. You're talking about the people on the bench,
yeah,
as if that's what makes the biggest difference, or as if that's what you need to win games.
No, but
every other team in the Premier League relies on their 11 players.
Yeah.
And then they have 1 or 2 guys off the bench, but not game. Typically, they don't really have game changers. They have people who they can just sub in for positions or whatever.
We didn't have a striker.
You didn't have a striker. Did you just say you didn't have a striker?
Who I'm talking about on the bench.
Oh my!
Like
God.
attacking
Why are you
options.
Talking about the bench
because
those guys
James,
aren't playing. Those guys aren't playing.
Look.
You have Firmino, you have Salah, and you have Luis Diaz.
Firmino just came back from injury 2 days ago.
No,
2 days ago, he was out for 2 weeks.
Okay, come on.
He hasn't
you
trained.
Lost the plot already. We just started.
No, look. Point is, Milner should not be. This is nothing against Milner. Milner and Henderson should not be playing.
If you have your healthiest players.
Yeah, these guys were not. So Henderson, Fabinho should have started over Milner, in my opinion.
Okay.
Then that would have made it a lot easier for Harvey Elliott to do whatever he does. Milner was making runs inside the Manchester United box. The guy couldn't even control the ball. He's like getting run by Varane and who else. So the point is, if you have Milner starting, can you imagine your bench? That's the whole
First of all, Milner's actually a good option for you.
I like.
I used to give him shit, but that guy's actually a good option.
No, a good option.
Yeah, a good option. Of course, you didn't have your best 11.
Yeah.
Did Manchester United have their best 11 on the field starting?
I mean, you can argue depending
who's. Would you rather have James Milner or McTominay?
I'll take McTominay because he can run nonstop.
Oh my word, you have lost it.
No. Who would you?
Of course, you say that now.
Who would play McTominay? No. Who would play over McTominay for Manchester United? Fred?
Exactly. That's exactly my point I'm trying to make. Is that they're even worse than you guys.
No, because Milner you take out, you put in an academy player, like those two.
But it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is that your starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that huge of a change from your starting 11 to your best starting 11, like the ones that you had this week. Who was it? Harvey Elliott, Milner, Joe Gomez, and that was it. Everybody else is a starter, right? Everybody else is the best one in their position.
I mean, Firmino, depending if you're going to play him or not.
Now you're saying Firmino is not the best in his position?
No. You're obviously Firmino's going to play.
Look, so just listen to yourself, George. You're making excuses.
I'm not making excuses. No.
Everyone has excuses. Manchester United has excuses.
No, what I'm trying to tell you is Liverpool, you need depth in the Premier League. And I alluded to this for Manchester City, 2-3 podcasts ago. That's why I don't think they're as strong as they were in previous years, because they don't have, they're an injury or two away. Yes, Liverpool have 6, 7, 8 injuries that are that like destroying the bench. So I completely understand. So the main problem is Liverpool's midfield yesterday. It got completely overran. But that's not the only problem. Usually when teams play, good teams, Manchester City, maybe you have Haaland two games ago where he had 2 touches, 3 touches inside the box. Maybe he doesn't have a good game, but then you have players in midfield scoring goals or the attacking players scoring goals.
Yeah.
So it's kind of balancing everything. Liverpool at the moment don't have a single player that's playing good. Like Alisson is the only one that you can say, he's like, okay, Trent, I don't even know. There's one time, we were talking about the Milner thing before the podcast. When Milner went up to talk to Van Dijk, when there was a give and go on the edge of the box where Trent wasn't guarding the player that passed the ball to Bruno. Bruno, I think, played him in behind, which I think was Elanga, who went around Trent. Trent, didn't try and track Elanga down the line, and didn't sprint towards the middle. The dude just like kind of jogged towards the middle. So that's the problem when you have Liverpool. When you think of Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, what do you think of? Intensity, sprints, you're going to work hard, you're going to do this.
Press, yeah.
Like all those things are, all those players and all those things are not the Liverpool way under Jurgen Klopp. So you talk about the results. I'm not worried about the results. What I'm worried about is how Liverpool started games in the past 3 games. They've started terrible. First 20 minutes, it's not just like first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, 15, it's like 20, 30 minutes. You're looking at like, this is not the Liverpool that is under Jurgen Klopp. So whether that's due to the injuries that he's talked about or something's happening behind the scenes or wherever it is, it's just not the Liverpool way. And am I panicking like you said? No, I'm not panicking because I think Jurgen Klopp is going to figure it out.
You sound like you're panicking.
No, Jurgen Klopp is going to figure this out. Whether that means he took Henderson off and Henderson didn't, like, there's something going on with that as well. So like,
are you saying that they're going to figure this out and then they're going to win the Premier League?
I'm saying they're going to figure this out.
Or this is going to be a season where they're going to have to figure it out for next season.
They're going to figure. I'm not saying like, okay, now it's 100% Liverpool going to win the Premier League. They're going to be in contention to win the Premier League. Like, I don't think they're going to be 20 points behind.
Right. They're still going to be in the running until the end. Or whatever.
They're going to figure their crap out. As of right now, they're 5 points behind Manchester City. 5 points. 5 points is allowed when you talk about a title race. But all it means for Liverpool now is...
they're 7 behind Arsenal.
7 behind Arsenal.
So
but
you better catch up.
Yeah.
You better catch up.
That's different. But so Liverpool, this is the thing with Liverpool now. So you have 2 weeks left in this transfer window. Jurgen Klopp has been asked, are Liverpool going to sign a midfielder? And now for the first time, Jurgen Klopp, since he's been in Liverpool, has hinted that
you need to sign one.
FSG and the owners are not allowing the funds. What he said was, I can do my job and I can figure out certain players that I want, and that's all I can do. I'm not the guy that you ask for the money. I'm not the guy who has the money or something of the sort, which is telling me, he said it a few times, which is telling me that the owners are not giving the money. And that's been the case with Liverpool. It's just up until now, Klopp has been able to work his magic with the players where he has. But now these guys are getting of age. Milner is not the same Milner from 2-3 years ago. Like, the guy's
5-6 years ago, bro.
I mean, even there, but like at the Liverpool way when he came. So like all these guys are getting older, and the way Liverpool has done their business is 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Liverpool had a problem with the center back position. Just injury after injury after injury. It was nonstop, and we barely got top 4 to get into the Champions League. Mm-hmm. So Liverpool, what they do is, or how the owners work is, you sell a player, you use that money, and we'll give you 10, 15 million more to add into whatever you want. And the way you have to work it is, okay, 2 years ago, Liverpool had the center back problem. Now you brought in Konate. And Matip was really good last year injury-wise. And now both guys are out, and Joe Gomez just came back. So now you have a little bit of depth in the center back position with Joe Gomez there, like even though he just came back from an injury. But now that you're midfield, you're looking at Oxlade-Chamberlain, injuries, Thiago, injuries, Milner's getting of age. You're Naby Keita. What, the guy came back 2 days ago from injury, from illness, and then he wasn't in the lineup. Jurgen Klopp was asked, where is he? He's like, I don't know, from nothing. He got injured. So like something's going on. So he needs to fix that. What they concentrated this year was attacking wise. The last Mane, we brought in Diaz from the January transfer window, and now we brought in Nunes. Nunes got suspended, so obviously he's out.
Yep.
So we didn't concentrate on the midfield at all. We didn't strengthen the midfield at all. we just said, okay, we're going to keep the players we have, which is fair because you have 8 midfielders. Like, it's kind of hard to say, okay, let's go buy one when you have 8. So when you buy him, what's going to happen then when they all come back? So that's the problem that I think Liverpool messed up on this whole summer is you have so many players that are injury prone and players that, like, I like Chamberlain, I like Naby Keita. Obviously, Thiago is a different category because Thiago is just a bit better class than those two. But, like, you need to think, like, Milner's going to be your start. Like, 3 games now, Milner is your key midfield player. Nothing against Milner. I think he's a good player. But he should not be the guy you go to. Harvey Elliott shouldn't be the guy you go to. Carvalho shouldn't be the guy you go to. Those guys should be integrated within the team, which is the Jurgen Klopp way. But that's not what's happened. They're just thrown out there.
All right. All I'm going to say is this. Everyone has excuses. Throughout the entire Premier League, everyone has an excuse.
It's luck if you get the injuries.
No. It's not luck because Liverpool have an injury problem. That's something that they're doing that's not going right.
Yeah,
whether it's training or medical team or whatever. But it's been the case for a while as well because you've been saying this for a long time. Well, you talked about the center backs.
That was 2 or 3 years ago. And then last year we were really good. When you have 8
midfielders and not enough of them to be healthy, there's something wrong with what training methods or the medical team or whatever. You could say, yeah, maybe it's really unlucky. But at the end of the day, we can talk about the injuries. We can talk about the players that they had to put in there and the positions or whatever, and Trent not running back. You guys are not doing well.
No, we're not doing well. That's the worry.
Problem.
That's the only worry I have. As in, look, you watched the Manchester United game.
Yeah.
Manchester United, the first 20 minutes, were on top of Liverpool. After that, you can look at the stats, and Liverpool have possession, Liverpool have this, and that's completely fine. The worry is that there's no urgency. Like, no, there's
no. Like, you guys weren't dangerous. That's what it was.
But even defensively, we were bad.
But yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Manchester United were dangerous the entire game. Throughout the whole, obviously right before they scored that goal, they had the one where Elanga hit it off the post. But throughout the game, they looked dangerous. And then on the counter, when they played in Rashford, Liverpool never looked like that during the whole game, and they haven't looked like that in their first 2 games, which is the problem. Is what I'm telling you.
So. I can actually take it back to the Champions League game, to the final. Ever since then, Ancelotti said, I know how to play against Liverpool. And he said it before the game. Yeah. He said it after the game. And now every team is doing it. It's
different. If you know how to play against Liverpool when you're Real Madrid, of course, because you can make those adjustments and your players can do it. You could say that to Manchester United when they're in shambles, and they technically shouldn't be able to, no matter if they figure out how to do it or what you're doing, they still shouldn't be able to stop it. Liverpool themselves have fallen off, and that's the problem. It's not necessarily that Manchester United or these other teams have figured out how to play against Liverpool. That's not actually it. It's the fact that Liverpool themselves have hurt themselves to the point where they're not as dangerous as they used to be.
I'm not like
shambles.
The thing is I'm not even worried about the attacking side, because Liverpool, we're gonna get chances. We're getting chances. The problem is the biggest concern I have is like the midfield defense. There's a huge gap. How many times yesterday, Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, spread out so open? I didn't even know
that pairing is terrible in itself. Like the last 2 games, the last game that they played together, they lost like 7-1 or something like that. What game was it? It was like I saw it on ESPN. It was like the last 2 games that they've started together have been defeats by a big margin. Joe Gomez, first of all, it's hard because if you're Van Dijk and you have Joe Gomez playing next to you, no offense to Joe Gomez, but that guy's not. He is like worst case scenario. You have to bring him in, and you could tell Van Dijk is like, I can't.
The thing is, I like the partnership. I liked it before Joe Gomez's injury 2 years ago, before he broke his ankle.
Did you see that nutmeg?
I did, but but that's what I'm saying.
But that's not your center. That's not your best center back.
No, it's not. No, it's not our best center.
And that's not your second best center back either.
He's a third, fourth.
At the end of the day, you guys are just. It's not looking good.
No,
and
everybody's playing off.
I know you don't want to admit it, and I hate. You don't want to admit it, but Sadio Mane not being there makes a huge difference.
He makes a difference, but I don't.
Huge difference.
But he doesn't solve the defensive issues. He doesn't solve the midfield.
He solves we can score more goals than the other team issues, and that's all the issues you need to solve.
I think that's just a transition with Diaz.
You guys have always talked about how amazing Virgil van Dijk is.
Yeah, and now he's not.
And how amazing Andy Robertson is.
Yes, now he's
not. And how amazing Alexander-Arnold is. Maybe not necessarily for the defending side of things, but for the attacking side, still. Defensively, you guys have always talked about we have some of the best players. who never get dribbled past. Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, and now he gets dribbled back.
Now he gets dribbled
He
by
hasn't made a
now-
tackle. So, but again, back to the point I was saying. Usually in teams, or good teams, you have one or two players that do bad or have a poor game, let's say, or they don't score or they don't defend as well. But then you have the other 8 or 9 that are playing pretty damn good.
Yeah.
With Liverpool,
That's happened with Liverpool and Manchester City because they have so much depth
Yeah.
on the roster. Is that like if Salah's not having a good game, Luis Diaz has a really good game.
Yeah.
And scored like the other day where he scored the goal to tie or whatever. Manchester City has the same thing where Erling Haaland doesn't have a good day, but then you have, any Phil Foden who has a good day or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's not that many teams that can do that though. There's like, for example, Newcastle. If Saint Maximin is not having a good day, Newcastle's not having a good day.
my boy Bruno.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
Bruno's like, but you know what I'm
It's
saying, like
different
players who
player.
are going to
Yeah.
take the game to their hands and score a goal or
Yeah.
whatever. Same thing with just any of the other Premier League teams. If they're best players, because they only have a couple players who can really make a difference. If they're not having a good game, the whole team's not having a good game. You are afforded that luxury at Liverpool where,
Were before the injuries.
listen, at the end of the day, here's the thing that I've noticed. You have valid excuses. Unfortunately, they do not matter.
Yeah, well, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody
the
cares.
referees won't care. The
No.
other teams won't care.
The offside.
Even
and
if
listen,
you said, injuries,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter because at the end,
I mean,
of the
they
day,
need to figure it out.
You drop the points, and
Like
that's
you-
the only thing that people are going to look at.
yeah, Jurgen Klopp needs to figure it out. But from the first few games, teams catch Liverpool on the counter and bad.
Yeah.
The Palace game where Zaha scored, Fabinho gets dribbled inside Crystal Palace own half, plays the ball into Zaha, cut in between the two center backs, the guy scores. Rashford,
Yep.
Elanga had it yesterday.
I-
Something in there is missing. I don't know what exactly it's missing.
I think teams have figured it out a little bit, and this was what happens after a long spell of a team just dominating.
Yeah.
Is eventually every single formation, every single system of play has a weakness.
Yeah.
At least one weakness, and it typically takes teams an entire season to really figure it out consistently. Liverpool. Because everyone knows how they press now. You can go
Yeah.
on YouTube and find 100 million tutorials of Liverpool's gegenpressing and how they, how they squeeze and stuff like that. Now teams have figured it out. We just have to play them on the counterattack because
Yeah.
they're typically a team that gets us on a counterattack. We're going to have to play them on a counterattack
Yeah.
because anytime we try and win the ball and try and just connect a few passes, they're eventually going to squeeze us to the point where we're going to lose the ball or have to kick it long. If we can get the ball to get that first outlet pass successful, and then the next guy runs in behind the back line while they're trying to squeeze and trying to press us, then how many times now just in the first 3 weeks have you guys had complete breakaways for the other team?
Yeah,
Where the other team is just 1-versus-1 with the goalkeeper. That's the risk.
Yeah.
That's the risk you're willing to take when you're pressing as high as Liverpool do.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for Liverpool, when you don't have all your best players,
You can't press.
You can't press. Or it's not that you can't press as effectively.
Yeah. I mean,
you're going to be
Milner, Henderson pressing.
be left open. You're going to be left open.
And-
That's what
and
happened.
Ericsson yesterday, how many times one touch pass into Rashford or Elanga down the line?
They had a system.
Bruno.
Ten Hag was like, this is how we're going to get it. We're going to play one pass in here. You're going to play the pass in behind.
Yeah.
And then we're in 2 passes. And then it's a breakaway.
Yeah. And it happened most
'Cause
of the
Liverpool
time.
will always squeeze. Liverpool will always squeeze. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to get caught up
Yeah.
high. Andrew Robertson's going to get caught up high. Whatever. People are going to be out of position.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Trent, Jurgen Klopp in the past few years was like, okay, I'll take what you give me going forward. Defensively, we have Van Dijk. We have Matip or Konate or even Joe Gomez when we play good. And we have Andy Robertson who's going to do really well. But now they're not doing well. So now Trent goes up and now the space is still here open and they're not doing well. So it just everything gets broken down. And the last thing from the game yesterday was how many times it just crazy to me because like I play in midfield. I play as a 6. So like watching Henderson or Milner, who I don't even know who was the 6 at that point. Bruno as an attacking midfielder or center mid, wherever he was playing, making those runs in behind. And there's absolutely no care from Henderson or Milner to track anybody in behind. Literally, I think it was Ericsson who looked up. He saw Elanga on one side, Rashford on the other, and then Bruno making a run through the middle. And then Van Dijk and Gomez were like, oh, I don't know where to go. So the gap opens. But as a center mid, as a 6, you need to drop. You need to help. You can't have a 20-yard gap in between you guys, and you have Bruno just hanging out in there. And that happened way too many times, and that's why he got broken through there. And I don't know what this like. It obviously I trust you on Klopp, and I'm not gonna say like we know more than Klopp or whatever, but Liverpool can't press with Milner, so You need to change, like, you need to adapt to the situation. Like, you have injured players, but you need to adapt. Whether that's going out in the transfer window now and telling the owners, look, I need 20, 30, 40 million, whatever it is. We want Jude Bellingham. He's not going to come. Borussia don't want 130, 40 million. Liverpool are not going to pay that. So you need to bring a midfielder now.
I think you guys just need to wait. Right now, you just need to wait endure a couple more weeks until you can get all your players back, or at least most of your players back, and then you'll be fine. Because again, you don't want to end up with the problem where people start coming back healthy. You made a last second purchase to try and buy someone just to fix the problem, and now you have 9 midfielders or whatever.
Yeah,
I think you guys need to wait, and hopefully, if everyone comes back and is healthy, and you don't continue to have injury problems, you guys will be okay. I don't think that you guys are going to win the Premier League this year. I think Arsenal has a better chance of winning the Premier League this year, and I'll tell you why. Not necessarily because they're going to be the best team, but the way they've been playing in the first 3 games, if it's any indication of how the season is going to go, they're going to get results against the teams below. And they might struggle against Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, even at times. Tottenham, those are going to be the games where they might drop points here and there, but they're going to get enough points from those teams and enough points from the teams in the bottom to be higher than Liverpool.
Yeah,
Changing my prediction. No. Predictions have changed. Arsenal is going to be top 3. Top 3 Arsenal.
I can see Arsenal being top 3.
And I think with a third left in the season, so about 20-something, 24 games in, somewhere around there, I think Arsenal have pretty much guaranteed Champions League qualification.
Yeah, I mean, that's if the 3 games are an indication.
But before we go into Arsenal, I do want to give credit to Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted it more. Everything was better. Everything was completely night and day.
It's crazy how the atmosphere and the environment can change from one game to the next, because it's been, we've said this word a million times, shambles at Manchester United for the last few months. It literally it couldn't hit any lower point than the 4-0 loss last week. And
4-0 and 4-0, right? Isn't that what it was? Or 2-0 or whatever. They lost to Brighton 4-0, didn't they?
It was 4-1 maybe?
4-1.
I can't remember. But anyway, 4-0. All right. Worst possible. It can't get much worse than that, really. Yeah. And everybody's like, oh, Ten Hag needs to go. These guys all need to go. He makes a couple of changes, not really anything crazy, but somehow they play much better than Liverpool.
Maguire and Ronaldo benched.
Yeah, well, Ronaldo was benched last game as well. Yeah. But Maguire finally gets benched, which is what 100% of everyone who's a Manchester United fan has been saying for the longest time. Somehow he was still kept on the field forever. Finally gets benched. Put Varane, who had a good game, very good game. And now all of a sudden, after they scored that second goal, that stadium was erupted. It was crazy. Yeah. And I can guarantee you, if you go and watch some of the interviews with the fans afterwards, they're going to talk about how happy they are with the changes that he's made and how this guy is changing the culture after one game. I don't know if next game is gonna go back to the shambles that it was, or if it's gonna continue to be like this. But that was a good performance. It was really good performance. They got Liverpool. They managed to play Liverpool at the perfect time. Yeah. 3 or 4 games later, if they would have had Liverpool 3 or 4 games later, I think that game is a little different. Yeah. But they got Liverpool at the right time. Mm-hmm. Confidence was quite low, and Manchester United, what do they have to lose at that point? They just lost 4-0.
I think this game it meant a lot more to Manchester United than it did for Liverpool. Because
I agree with that.
I mean, Liverpool, just because of what's been happening in the past 5 years. Okay. That's the only reason.
So in 2 weeks, we're going to check back, because we still have another podcast, but I think in 2 weeks when Liverpool is struggling still, I can't wait to hear you say that you are finally panicking.
No, I'm not. I fully trust Jurgen Klopp.
And I can't wait for you to say, okay, title hopes are gone. Right now, it's just, let's just get top 4. We'll rebuild for next season. We'll spend some money. We'll get Jude next season or whatever.
Listen, I always take it game by game. So, my predictions, I'm going to stick to them. I still say Manchester City are finishing 3rd best.
Manchester City dropped points. Yeah. They didn't look too hot.
Wait, before we get there. Bruno, that's a second yellow. 80th minute.
Oh, Manchester United?
Yeah. I don't
know what the referee was doing.
That's 100% second yellow.
I didn't even realize that he was on a first yellow. So I was like, why isn't he just going to give him a yellow for this? What is he doing? Yeah. And I think the referee was just like, I got the time anyway, so it doesn't matter. As long as they don't fight, I'm just going to tell them, relax, I got the time on my watch.
But never...
It's not technically time wasting because the referee's stopping and he's going to add those minutes.
But you do that if you don't have a yellow, he gives Salah yellow, he gives Bruno yellow. And then he walks off. And
what is the protocol for that situation?
Time wasting, you can't do it.
No. But I'm saying, when that happens, who gets the ball? Is it the team that scored? Are they allowed to get the ball? Or does the team that's about to kick off allowed to get the ball? Or is it the referee should get the ball and he takes it to the half?
I mean,
You get what I'm saying? Because why would Liverpool grab the ball if it's Manchester United's ball?
Yeah, I don't think there's a certain I don't think there's a set rule.
They need to establish that because that's what players keep doing.
Yeah.
And then that's when people start punching each other or whatever. They start punching at the ball and then the guy goes down like he got punched or whatever.
Like Bruno yesterday. Oh my!
I think Bruno should have gotten a yellow.
Yeah. Did you see his dive? That was his first yellow. He dove in the box.
I didn't see the dive. No.
Yeah, it was like it was bad. Yeah, it was bad. But like if he doesn't have a yellow, he gets a yellow, and then that's it. Yeah. But I mean, everybody.
He held on it for too long. Like I understand if they hold on to it for a little bit, and then eventually Salah like gets the ball from his hands. But the guy was not giving up the ball.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And Salah was like at first he was like just give me the ball, for a good like 10, 15 seconds until he finally got really upset.
And they started like punching it or whatever. And then the referee just
should be a yellow card.
Yeah, should be. And then I mean. That's what I mean. In those situations, when a team is playing bad, you take all the help you can get. Liverpool not playing well. If you get a red card, the whole atmosphere, then Liverpool score a goal, it's just completely different. But it finished anyway. It doesn't matter. Liverpool lost.
You can always pick out the moments that don't help you out.
Like offside.
But there's sometimes that things do help you out or some things that go against Manchester United that you're like, forget about, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, they deserve to win anyway.
Interesting game. Again, another good game for the Premier League. Regardless if you're Liverpool, obviously for the non-Liverpool fans, it was a good game.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't matter. It was a good game regardless. Obviously for Manchester United fans, it was a great game. For anybody who's just casually watching, who supports another team, I think it was very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it was.
So let's move on to Newcastle and Manchester City. 3-3 final score. Manchester City had to come back from being 2 goals down. Trippier scores a freaking...
worldy.
Yeah, sick goal.
Yeah. And they should have had more. Did you watch it fully or no?
No, I wasn't. I had a game. I was coaching.
I would say the first 20 minutes, it was all Manchester City. And then Newcastle figured out how to break down Manchester City.
I was watching I saw the highlights, the extended highlights, like 25 minutes or whatever. And there were some good sequences of play from Newcastle.
Yeah. But like, breaking down Manchester City, like Manchester City haven't really been broken down in a long time. And it was interesting because I think it was Eddie Howe who, once it was 3-1, he said, all right, we're not going to do this anymore. And I think that's where everything kind of changed.
Changes a little bit.
Because then you let Manchester City be Manchester City. If you keep doing what you're doing, obviously it's very hard to just ping the long ball to St. Maximum and let him do his thing. But like, their whole game plan was spread Manchester City, because usually teams try to play in between and try to play through midfield, and Newcastle did that and tried the first 10, 15 minutes, and it was like every time Man City would just go into the midfield, suck up the ball, take the ball, and then go counter or start possessing. Newcastle, I don't know what clicked. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if there was a change in the middle of the game where I was like, all right, we're going to do this instead of this. But man, I haven't seen Manchester City struggle defensively in a long time. And, I mean, John Stones got hurt. Nathan Ake got hurt, and then Ruben Diaz came on. And I think that's everybody on Twitter was saying this is the moment where everything went downhill. But, I mean, Ruben Diaz was one of the best center backs last year.
So even though they dropped points, Manchester City... definitely nothing to worry about because Newcastle has actually gotten a lot more respect lately because of obviously Eddie Howe changing a little bit. They've gotten a couple of players, and then when they have St. Maximin, who's like they've decided we're going to revolve our game around him, and anything in the attack is going to go through him. Let him dribble, let him do his thing, and then get a shot or get a cross or whatever. And I think it was a great game for Newcastle. First of all, for Liverpool, for Manchester United, for every other team, they're happy that Manchester City drops points. Because anytime Manchester City drops points, everyone is happy.
Yeah.
For Manchester City, the problem that I think they're running into a little bit is that Haaland is such a good player. Don't get me wrong, but he's not as mobile.
Yeah.
He's one of those 0 to 100 type players. Not like he's not constantly running checking in between lines. He's not trying to link up play. He's literally just trying to stay at the top and get Manchester City to play a ball in behind.
Yeah.
And like you said, you think that his style of play doesn't benefit Manchester City as much. I think they just need to figure it out. I think they just need to. Kevin De Bruyne and all those guys need to start saying, okay, we love having the ball at our feet and we love building. but we do need to start stretching them a little bit behind because that guy is rapid. Did you see
Yeah,
that one
there's
that
no
he got
catching
played
him.
in behind that? I think the goalkeeper saved it, but he got played in behind, and he first of all he got the first touch and then out muscled the guy, and then the goalkeeper ended up making a save.
Yeah.
But the guy is just
You can
play
catch
the
him.
ball in behind, just play it into the space.
But that's the thing, though. When you play Manchester City, for the most part, teams are just sitting back. So there's not that much space in behind. The only way I see Haaland or Manchester City actually playing to Haaland's, strongest suit is when Manchester City go up a goal, teams have to push up and trying to go for it to get a goal or to tie it up or to win. And then that's when the space is going to open up. That's where the whole team is going to kind of push up a little bit more. Like West Ham game, I think it was 1-0 from Manchester City. And then they had to push up. They had to push up, kind of try and press and move up as a team. And that's when KDB played the ball in behind for Haaland, 20, 30 yards in behind, and nobody's going to catch him. Yeah. And then he scores. That's the only way I can see Haaland. Which
most of the time will actually work, because most of the time Manchester City is actually going to go up.
Yeah.
But yeah, when teams are just going to drop off, they're going to drop off for as long as they possibly can. They're going to just try and keep it at 0-0. Look for counterattacks. Most teams are going to look for counterattacks against Manchester City or set pieces.
Yeah.
But Newcastle played a good game.
Yeah,
Newcastle
really good.
Played a good game, and
it was entertaining.
I do believe Saint Maximin is going to leave at some point. There's no way he stays at Newcastle
unless they start becoming.
Yeah, but
top
that's
four.
going to take 3-4 years. I think that's going to take at least 3-4 years, and I think just when you're a player like that, and you're that good, everything revolves around you. You're going to have teams like Barcelona. You're going to have teams like Real Madrid. Like all those teams are going to be inquiring about him, and they're going to try and get him early.
Yeah,
because he's in his prime, so they're going to try and get him now before in 2-3 years he's worth a lot more money than he is right now. The only issue that a lot of teams are going to have with him is they're going to be like, he's very individual, and with all of the superstars that all those other teams have,
it's going to be difficult.
It's going to be difficult because they're not going to just say take the ball and start dribbling. They're going to say you're going to get the ball in certain spots where you can do your thing, but for the most part you're a team player. But he's a good player, man.
Yeah, I think he's the
slicing and dicing.
He's the best one-on-one player.
And
in the Premier League.
1v2. That's the thing as well. Most players are like pretty good in 1 versus 1s.
Yeah.
He does well to at least draw 2 defenders and still be able to pass it to a teammate or get some sort of a shot off. So, yeah. But again, if you're a Manchester City fan, are you worried? No.
No. I mean,
because the next game you're probably going to win, and then you're probably going to win. Then you might draw again, and then you might lose every 5-6 games maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're worried.
I will say this though. I think this year, whoever does win the Premier League will not have more than 90 points. In the past 5-6, this year has been the most competitive it's been. Like teams like Newcastle, and I think I've said Newcastle was going to, in my prediction, 7th. That's where I had them.
Yeah.
I had. Yeah.
You had them high up though.
Yeah.
You had them top 10.
Yeah, and Botman, center back, looks really good. He had some sloppy moments, to be honest, against City, but for the most part, he's a really good center back. Trippier, captain now, bought in. Like we said, Saint Maximum, he's bought into Eddie Howe's plan. Joe Ellington in the middle is working his ass off, not stop, like playing amazing. Bruno is a guy that I needed at Liverpool. So
they're building a good roster.
Yeah.
They're building a good roster, and they have.
Callum
the good thing about them is that they don't have, besides Saint Maximin, they don't have any big personalities.
Yeah.
And you can tell by watching them play that they're working hard as a unit, and none of those guys are big time Charlies yet.
Yeah.
And that's how they have to play under Eddie Howe to get results against Manchester City, Liverpool, and all those teams.
Yeah, which they should. I mean, the team he's building and the amount of money he's going to be given, if he keeps this up, he's going to be able to.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
They're going to be one of the. They're going to start being one of the top teams consistently throughout the seasons.
And nobody's going to want to go play at Newcastle. Yeah. Like that stadium. No, those fans, it's a nightmare to play in there.
But again, I don't think you're worried too worried if you're Manchester City, especially with the fact that all the other teams haven't been doing so well, and nobody's giving Arsenal credit just yet.
Yeah,
everybody's still like, same old Arsenal. They're gonna at some point they're just gonna fall off. So it's just a good start, but nobody's like if Liverpool was 3 for 3 right now, people are gonna be like, oh, they're gonna run away with the league.
Yeah.
I agree with you though. I think it's gonna be close at the top between like 3 3 teams at least. And I don't think anybody's going to run away with it where somebody's going to get 99, 100 points.
No, I think you're looking at 85 points is probably going to win you the league.
I'm thinking.
I mean, that's a lot of drop points when you think about it. Because
88 to 90 is gonna win you the league.
Yeah,
but I do think it'll be close.
It's crazy because, like I said in the beginning, like you had Manchester United winning leagues with like 79 points back in the day. Like that's insane. That
before the Manchester City days.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Now let's talk about the good stuff, George. Let's talk about the most important team in the Premier League at the moment. Arsenal are flying.
Yeah, it's
okay. People, this is the criticism that people are going to say. Arsenal haven't played against anybody yet,
but they have. I mean, Palace is not a bad team.
Yeah, I know. But when they're saying they haven't played against Tottenham, they haven't played against Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United. So you already had Tottenham and Chelsea who played against each other.
Yeah.
You already had Manchester United and Liverpool who played against each other. So Arsenal are like, the reason why I don't think anybody's super excited or super going crazy about it is the fact that they haven't been matched up against one of those teams yet.
Yeah.
And then, but I'll tell you what, who's the first team that they play against that's good?
I don't know.
Let me look it up real quick.
I actually, I think Liverpool have the craziest schedule for next month. I think it's Arsenal, Man City, and Spurs. So I think it might be Liverpool.
The next one is on the 4th of September. Manchester United.
Okay.
Arsenal. That's the next big game. But
wait.
For Arsenal.
That's in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, that's in a couple weeks. Before that, they'll play Fulham.
Okay.
And I'm worried about that game because of my boy, Mitrovic. Listen, at the end of this season, that guy is going to be a household name. I'm just letting you know.
How many goals is he going to score?
But before that, hold on, before we get into Mitrovic and Fulham, Manchester United is going to be the next in a couple weeks. Yeah. And if Manchester United have continued to build from this performance, that's going to be a very good game.
Yeah.
And I think Arsenal's performance in that game is going to open up a lot of people's eyes to see exactly where they're going to be. If Arsenal goes, and it's Manchester United's hosting as well, if Arsenal goes to Old Trafford and wins convincingly 2-0, 3-1, something like that, I guarantee people are going to be talking about Arsenal actually having title hopes.
I think it's too early.
It is early. Yes, it is early. But that's the only team in the Premier League who has convincingly shown that they're the best. Right now, they're the best team in the Premier League.
Yeah. Well,
3 weeks.
Look,
3 weeks in, best team in the Premier League.
What I'm saying is it will be too early is every year when I look at the table, yes, it's important. Like every game's important. Like every drop point is important. But like the beginning of the season, it just feels like you're allowed to kind of start off a bit slower. Yeah. So I look at the table with 7 or 8 games, and then I tell myself, okay, this is how it's gonna. Because usually, like 3 or 4 games, you can say, okay, this team is on a high right now, like they're feeling it, and then it just
you have to
drops.
wait for the trends. You have to wait for the trends after a while.
And then it just goes down. After 8 games, it's either you're gonna be up there or like you're gonna slow down a little bit. Like West Ham, I think it was last year when West Ham at one point was like for 2-3 weeks they were up top.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, West Ham this, West Ham, and then it kind of died down. Leicester City was the only time where they were up top and then they ended up winning the league. Which are we gonna have another Leicester City? I mean, who knows? But
we are at some point, but that's not gonna be probably.
Is that gonna be Arsenal, the new Leicester City?
Listen, if Arsenal win the title, it's not like Leicester winning the title.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
But
no, they've started amazing, and like all the young players,
people are excited, and it's been consistent.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Over 3 games, if you do it, so if they win next week, all right, and they go like let's say in the first 6 games, if they have 4 wins and 2 draws, or 5 wins and 1 draw, or even 5 wins and 1 loss, at least we've built some sort of consistency, and that's what's been missing from Arsenal for a very long time. Because everybody knows that when they're doing well, they play some very, very good football. And then there's times where they just look like they don't want to be out there. And people getting red cards and stuff like that. But still, all I'm saying is that it's a very exciting time to be an Arsenal fan right now. It is early. And like you said, you have to wait until at least match week 8 or 9 to start seeing the trends of like who's going to be at the top for the most part and who's going to be where. But it's an exciting time to be an Arsenal fan.
And the thing, your team is young, man.
We have a good team, man.
And young guys that are willing to work.
We're changing the culture.
Yeah. If you can, again, stay away from injuries to, like, Saliba's been amazing. Gabriel's been really good. But who's your center back if they go out?
Rob Holding.
Rob Holding. It's like you're coming back to. I mean, he's not bad. He's a decent backup, but like the quality of those two have shown
Yeah.
so far. Like Rob Holding is not gonna be replaceable.
Yeah.
Like Martinelli, if that guy can keep it up the way he's been running and
If
chasing
he
and
doesn't
playing,
become a big time Charlie and he stays with this mentality of working on both sides of the ball,
yeah,
then I think he's going to continue to be a good player.
yeah,
A lot of those players though, like Saka, Martinelli,
Mhm.
a lot of those young players who get a lot of spotlight when they're young,
Mhm.
eventually start believing in all of the things that people are telling them, and then they feel like they don't have to do the work
Mhm.
as much because they're such good players. The reason why they're such good players is because, like Martinelli, he works on both sides of the ball.
Mhm.
Because he's a young kid trying to get into
Yeah.
the team to become a starter, so that's why he's doing it.
Yeah, trying to
if he
prove
continues
himself.
to do it, he can be a very good player.
Mhm.
But again, this is what I said the first week and the second week. But looking at their starting 11,
Mhm.
we have a very good group.
Yeah.
There's one or two positions in there that I'd like to replace at some point. But if we can keep this core
Yeah.
for a good 4 or 5 years, I think we're gonna start having some real hopes.
Gabriel Jesus is the key player.
He's been the key player so far.
Like if he can not even maintain, obviously he can't do this 3 games in, like now, like he's been absolutely amazing. There's no way you can keep this up for a whole entire season. But if you can stay up there, like even now to your 100% like he's been so far, Arsenal have a really good chance of like being in the title conversation. Now, can Gabriel Jesus score you 20 plus goals where you need, because realistically, that's what Arsenal have been missing for a long time. Somebody that's going to come in, be a team player, but also score you those goals. Like you had Aubameyang, like Lacazette, but they never really fit into the system, into the type of style that Arteta wanted. So now you have a player who's worked with Arteta at Manchester City, who knows him, who's going to trust him. And obviously Zinchenko helps and all those guys. But once you get a core group of players that are bought in, and all young players, like, you know, the future's bright, man. Like it looks really good. But again, if they think
It's
they're
okay.
big
You can
time,
say that we're going to win the Premier League.
no, I'm not going to
Bold
say
prediction: Arsenal wins the Premier League.
that. Now you've lost the plot.
Listen, if the Premier League was 10 weeks long,
You have a good chance.
we would have won it by now already.
Yeah, good
No,
chance.
I'm excited as a Arsenal fan. It's been a long we started becoming a Liverpool fan from 6-7 years ago,
Yeah,
where it's like you talk about your history, you can only talk about your history, and you don't really believe yourself when you say this is our year.
yeah,
I'm not saying this is our year. I still don't think we're going to win the Premier League because I agree with you. I think we just had a good start. There's going to be a drop in form at some point. I just hope that we can be consistent throughout the season. That's my hope.
yeah,
That we know where we're probably going to drop some points, but where we really should pick up points.
Mhm.
And then there might be the odd games where we might lose to a team that's not in the top 10 or something like that. That happens to everyone at some point. You're not going to go an entire season without it. But I think the most important thing has been we've had a good start.
Yeah, you
so
have
now
foundation.
it allows us to have some of those games where we might drop points because we're saying, okay, we're still on top. We still have a couple points ahead of everybody else in the Champions League race or whatever. Consistency is going to be the key for Arsenal. If we can be consistent.
If you guys get top 4 this year, which it looks like there's a really good chance for that, then that's a huge win for Arteta and Arsenal. Like, you need to take it step by step. Obviously, if you can win the Premier League, it's amazing. But when's the last time you guys were in the Champions League?
4 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Like, that's a long time for a big club to be out of the Champions League. So it's
But they believe in Arteta.
yeah,
The board believes in him. Edu, the sporting director, believes in him. And now I think the players believe in him.
yeah,
And I think, I don't know if, I know you haven't caught up on the documentary, but in the documentary they talk about the whole Aubameyang situation.
yeah,
And it's good to see how they handled it because Arteta basically had a meeting with Aubameyang and was like, okay, look, here's the things that I'm willing to kind of meet you in the middle as long as you meet me in the middle with these things. And you're going to be the captain and you're a player that we're going to rely on. And Aubameyang did not fulfill those expectations on his side. And basically they said, you're not training with the team. So when he came back, he trained on his own. And then he went to the Africa Cup of Nations.
mm-hmm.
And then when he came back, he still wasn't training with the team.
Yeah.
And Arteta's like, I have it all documented, all of the fines and all of the things that he's done, showing up late to training, like all of the fines he's accumulated, I have it. And it is not acceptable as a captain or as a player. And he had a meeting with the guys and he's like, this guy is as good of a player he is not going to be integrated. He's not part of this team right now. And obviously last season it sucked because he was really the only player that could do something for them. But I think the way he handled that situation, as opposed to giving into the pressure, because obviously all the fans, when they weren't getting results, were like, I don't care what he did, put him on the field.
Yeah.
But now I think the players realize, like, okay, if he took out Aubameyang out and he chose to not put the best team on the field because he stood up for something, now we have to walk the line, because it can happen with us as well. It can happen with any one of the players. So now I think they trust in him a little bit more because of the way he handled that situation. Was maybe he had to sacrifice a lot of the results last season in order for this season to really establish that culture. So starting from preseason, I think they understood what the rules were. They understood how to go about things and what type of team they need to be in order for them to be at least top 4. And so far, when it goes well, which it has so far in the first 3 games, the players believe in it. The players are invested.
Yeah.
If the first 3 games would have been not so good, the players tend to be like, oh, well, this is just shambles. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm excited. Arsenal's done well.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal fans should be excited. I haven't seen Arsenal TV, so I'm sure that's popping right now.
Arsenal's still really the only team doing well. The only big team doing well.
I mean, they're the only team with full points, right?
Yeah, with all 9 points. But none of the other teams besides Manchester City. I think Manchester City's looked good, but they haven't. Especially with the game against Newcastle, they didn't look really convincing. Tottenham and Chelsea haven't looked convincing either.
No.
Tottenham barely got a 1-0 win over Wolves. And at the end of it, it almost didn't feel like a win for them.
Yeah.
Just the way that they played. It was like one of those good teams will win games even when they have bad performances type. So they managed to get the win, but they didn't look convincing at all against Wolves.
And Wolves played really well as well. I think Wolves are just missing the finished product. Like they need.
Yeah, and Jimenez just got back from injury, so he only got subbed on at the end. So Tottenham, again, Conte's gonna make sure that stuff gets
he's gonna grind out results.
Yeah, he's
that's
gonna
just that's his nature. That's how he plays.
Exactly.
Like it sucks for the neutral people. Like if you watch a game and like the Chelsea game, like they just sat back the whole entire game, like 2 weeks ago when they tied. It's not the most appealing to the eye, but that's how he plays.
But he got the result, which is all that matters at the end of the day, because that's what you're going to see on the table is the points that they accumulated. 3 more points for Tottenham. Chelsea, on the other hand, again, top team not looking good at all. Leeds played a fantastic game. And it all really started with Mendy.
Yeah. I mean, you just clear the ball. Like, I don't understand it.
It's going to happen. It's one of those things that, like, when you tell a goalkeeper, now in the modern game, when you say, we need to be able to play out. We need to be able to play out. We need to be able to play out. They start getting in their heads that kicking the ball long is the last option. And they will wait until the very last second, literally, to use that option. He waited. He's like, I can still manage to help us build out at the back. So he tries to cut it back or whatever it is that he does. And then he hesitates. And in that moment of hesitation, Aronson picks the ball off him and then just scores the goal. Yeah. So it's one of those situations where, like, of course the coach is going to tell him, Tuchel's going to be like, just clear the damn ball. Yeah. But I feel like if every time they hit a long ball, goalkeepers nowadays, especially those types of goalkeepers, every time they hit a long ball, they're like, man, there's a goalkeeper out there that would have been able to play out of the back in this situation. And so they lose a little bit of the confidence in playing out of the back.
But Mendy's never been good with his feet anyway. So I don't know why he's trying to do a Cruyff turn inside his 6-yard box. But
the Cruyff turn works, but you're relying on the forward or whatever to bite. Yeah. To bite.
Alisson does it too many times for Liverpool, and I get a heart attack every single time.
Ederson does it all the time. And most of the time, the players will bite because they think, if I can just slide to get the ball, it might deflect off my foot, and then it'll bounce into the goal. But yeah, he managed to get a toe poke and then empty net. Yeah. And then from there, it just goes downhill. And Leeds, what did I tell you about Leeds? You said relegation.
I did say relegation. I did say.
I understand that they lost their 2 best players. Yeah. I get it. But they have the American. Two Americans.
Yeah. And the coach. Yeah.
And the mentality of an American is different than the mentality of an English player. English players are more if you would go back to like traditions of what like stereotypes, for example, and this doesn't always apply, but you think of an English person, you think of like a footballer, you think about it like a brute, like somebody who just wants to get into a tackle, physical and stuff like that. But when you think about American, you think of like blue collar, hardworking.
Yeah.
Like if the coach tells you to press, even though you're gonna not win the ball, you're gonna go and press.
Yeah.
That's just your mentality, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Did you see the turn? Did you watch the game?
I watched the highlights. I also had to coach that game.
Aronson had a turn against Koulibaly. Oh my God! He turned him inside out. Koulibaly had to grab his jersey, pull him down, and got a yellow card. And then Koulibaly got a red card. So
did he get a red card?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that. I watched the extended highlights again. I watched the goals.
Yeah, he got a second yellow, and he got sent out. But that turn, man.
Aronson, market value. Goes up. If he keeps having games like this, he's going to be one of those players that again is going to be. Yeah.
It's just like, it's not about the goals. Like when I watch I know everybody talks about goals and all that stuff, but it's just the desire, man. That guy has the desire to just work his ass off, and then he's also technical. It's not like he's not technical. He just run. He's both. Like he gives you both sides of the game.
What a convincing performance from Leeds.
Yeah. Rodrigo, top goal scorer in the Premier League, 4 goals in 3 games or something like that. That's good for him.
He's not going to end up top goal scorer.
No, he's not going to end up top goal scorer.
Great start.
Yeah.
Listen, I do think Leeds is going to be top 10. Sometimes it makes more sense to get rid of your best players.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds, sometimes it's better for the group.
Listen, if the player doesn't want to stay, you got to get rid of him.
And it's not always about like the player being like having a bad attitude or like for example Ronaldo. It's not about like Ronaldo being a bad apple or whatever, and then even though he's your best player, he's got to go. Sometimes it's just because your game revolves around them so much that when they're gone, you have to find solutions. And sometimes those solutions come from just being a well-rounded team in general. To say, okay, we might not have any big superstars, but as a team, we'll understand how to share the ball. We'll understand how to press together, how to work hard together. And you do have, when you have players that are as good as like Jack Harrison, I love Jack Harrison. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
Hard worker, doesn't really care about the spotlight, never really in the spotlight too much, but he plays a big part in how Leeds play. And now when you have players like Aronson who are going to work very, very hard, and then you got a coach like that who comes from this culture.
Yeah. But let me ask you this. We talk about Calvin Phillips going to Man City. I said this. I think it was the wrong decision. We're 3 games in. I know it's only 3 games, so things can change.
Calvin Phillips is not a good decision to go to Man City?
Yeah. Just because I told you playing time. Like, well, he's not going to play over Reggie, like, or those type of players, or KDB or Bernardo.
Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe when he wins the Premier League this season and he's got a starting spot. But that's the problem with Manchester City, though. You're sacrificing. And it's not. Here's the thing. When you go to a better team like that, and you've always been the big fish in a small pond, or whatever they call it, the way that they say it. When he was always going to be one of the best players at Leeds, and he was always going to start and be a starter at Leeds. Going into Manchester City, he knows he's capable of playing there, but he has to be in top form every single week.
Yeah.
Or else he's not going to be playing every single minute. Kevin De Bruyne is in top form almost every single week. The guy plays amazing. Nutmeg. Did you see that nutmeg?
Yeah.
Like there's not a single other player in the Premier League who can make that pass.
Yeah.
But anyway, when you're not in top form and you have that many good players, it's very easy to say, okay, you didn't have a good week. This guy is going to be our starter next season or next week. Yeah. Because this guy's just as good as you are, if not better. It's just it was a 50-50 on who starts right now.
But if you're going into your prime, like the same thing I'm going to say about Jack Grealish is a bit different. I mean, he hasn't really played. But like these guys are going to Manchester City or into any team. Doesn't really matter if Manchester City or not. If you're not going to go there at like young age to get games, and this is like you're entering the years where you need to develop and play and be like one of the key players for a team, like why would you, like, obviously like I said, I thought Leeds are going to struggle this season, so maybe he's thinking the same thing. He's like, oh no, we struggled last season, we sold Rafinha, and what am I going to do? Why would I stay? So maybe that was like a thought process, but why? Yeah. Like, imagine him at this Leeds team now, the way they're playing, with him being like a really good midfielder.
Or it could be just better without him. That's what I'm saying. Could be that like, oh, if he would have stayed, now look, their Leeds are doing really well, and he could. But it could also be because he's gone, Leeds are doing really well.
Yeah.
That's the risk you're willing to take when you go to a team like Manchester City. Calvin Phillips knew in his head that Pep Guardiola is never going to promise anyone game time.
Yeah.
And he knew. He's like, okay, what's the risk? Or what's the balance? What am I weighing? I'm weighing winning the Premier League, very high chance of winning the Premier League, but not playing every single game.
More money.
And more money. Or do I want to stay at Leeds where I know I'm not going to win the Premier League, and I might even be in a relegation battle, but I'm going to play every single game? And I'll go back to the Arsenal All or Nothing documentary. Mikel Arteta, by the way, loves giving a motivational speech.
Good, I like that.
Loves a motivational speech. He draws up on the board and he's like, what is more important to you guys, the journey or the destination? And what do you think the players say? Like Lacazette, what do you think he says?
The destination.
The destination. Because obviously those guys, it's about results.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was, is that Calvin Phillips said, I care more about the destination than the journey right now. Because the journey for him might have been, a better journey might have been do one more year, really ball out, and then go. And then know that I'm one of the top players in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Because right now he's still one of the up-and-coming talents type. So that's why. And I think he just cares more about the destination, which most players are going to care about that, because most players, when they retire, they're going to say, I won a Premier League. And nobody's going to say, you didn't play, because he will play.
Yeah, he'll play at some point.
He just won't play every single game.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, when I look at players like that and I think about the World Cup that's coming up in 6 months.
Right.
Like, he was one of the better English players when he played for England. But now you're like, okay, if you're the English coach, do you say, okay, this guy's not he's going to play?
I think it's the same. And I'll tell you why. Because what weighs more on the coach? Him starting and playing every minute at Leeds, or him rotating minutes at Manchester City?
If he rotates minutes.
He will be rotating minutes.
He's played 2 minutes so far. It's only 3 games. It's only 3 games. But like, but 2 minutes. Like,
when you're the coach of the national team and you start thinking about, if you start from a fresh slate, fresh canvas, and you're like, okay, let's think about the players that we want on the team. Who are you going to be looking at first? You're going to be looking at the Manchester City's roster. And you say, okay, let's look at Manchester City's roster. And all the best teams in the world where any English players are playing, those are the first ones they're going to look at. Before they go, he's not going to be like, let's look at Leeds. Let's see what Leeds have. He's going to say, let's see what the best English players at the top club in the Premier League are, which right now, Manchester City and Liverpool. So Southgate is looking at Manchester City and Liverpool's roster before they look at anybody else. And they're picking out Calvin Phillips is one of the first names written on the board.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Just because they're looking at the rosters of those first. And then eventually they go back and they say, okay, is he better than this player from Crystal Palace or this player from Leeds or whatever? But I'm just saying that decision in itself of him being at a team like Manchester City weighs more than him being at
It gives you the edge. But that's only if you're getting some game time. If you're playing 10 minutes a game, let's say, because the World Cup starts in November, so that gives you roughly like 15 games. I don't know, Premier League. I don't know. That doesn't really matter. 15 games. And let's say he starts 3 times and plays.
That's a risk.
Like 5 to 10 minutes. He's not going to go to the World Cup.
That's the risk. Yeah.
Because Southgate is going to look at Declan Rice. He's like, this guy plays every minute. Is balling out.
Right.
He's amazing. Why would I take somebody that they could be just as good as each other? Like, they might be the same level. But why would I take somebody who hasn't had game time and all that when I can take somebody that's been starting and playing for his team?
But I do think, back to my point, is that he weighs those and he says it just depends on what the amount of playing time Calvin. Yeah. Because if Calvin Phillips gets, let's say he gets 65% of all game time.
Oh, yeah. He's going to go to the World Cup.
Does that still weigh a little bit more than every single game for Declan Rice
It would just depend on the game time. But that's what I'm just basing it on, like, I know it's 3 games, so it's not like nothing to worry about. But you play 2 minutes in 3 games. Like, you get 12 more games.
Yeah.
To where you need to be.
He's got a little bit of time, but if he doesn't play enough, then of course, that's the risk that he was willing to take, and unfortunately, he might still win the Premier League that way, but he might not get called up to the English national team.
Yeah. So it's I guess
for a lot of them, it's just the key is just to get into the camp at first, and then from there they make the decisions based on the week or 2 that they're training there before they get cut. But it's a risk. But I get it. But is that more important than winning the Premier League, than having a higher chance of winning the Premier League, getting into the English national squad?
For the World Cup, I would say, yeah. Yeah, like going to a World Cup is like a dream for any
So
player.
when Calvin Phillips says, okay, sits down with his agent and he's like, okay, I can stay in Leeds, play all the time, and most likely get called up to the national team, or I can go to Manchester City, and then my chances of going to the national team are a little bit lower because I might not play, but I'll win a Premier League. What do I want? Do I want to get called up to the national team and play in a World Cup, or do I want to win a Premier League? And it's how much percentage that he'll have to do both, because he might say, I could win a Premier League and I still have a really good chance of going to the national team, where here I only have a really good chance of getting into the national team, and I'm not going to win the Premier League.
Yeah, but
decisions.
Yeah, and he's getting a lot more money, so obviously that helps future and all that stuff.
But the destination. Anyway, but just going back to that point, do you know what Arteta said?
The journey.
No. That's what I thought he was going to say. He said it's neither. It's the company. The company. I didn't like that answer, to be honest. I would have said the destination for sure.
No, I would have thought you would have said the journey, just because he's getting all the young players. They're on the road.
Yeah, he said
like I said, saying destination. Aubameyang is saying destination probably because like they need to win now because they're getting of age.
Right.
So like for them it's now or.
But I think for
2 years.
any player it should be the destination. Journey's great, but at the end of the day, you want to retire winning Premier Leagues. You want to be a player that was on a championship team. You don't want to be just a player that experienced it. For those guys, and that's what they're getting paid. They're not getting paid to experience it. They're getting paid to get results. It's a showbiz, really. It's like you're getting paid to get results. You're not getting paid just because we want you here. I think the correct answer is the destination. I'm not saying that you have to say fuck off to the journey. I'm not saying that, but you can't say the journey's more important when you're talking about how much money these guys are making a week.
But I mean,
Aubameyang was making, like they talk about in the documentary, he was making like 350,000
pounds
a week.
Yeah, which is like what 500K.
You're not getting paid. You're not getting paid for the journey at 350.
Yeah, but like at that point, you gotta. I mean, think about it though. Arsenal at that moment last year when they're like 5th, 6th, 7th place, 8th place, you can't say destination because where's your destination?
Right.
Like it's kind of like you asked. I guess it depends on what time of the season he has.
Still.
But like if you're not in the top 4, challenging for the top 4, challenging for a title, what kind of destination? What 5th place?
I think temporarily it might be the journey. Like teams who are just willing to stay in the Premier League and finish 11th, 12th, those guys might say, okay, this season it's going to be about the journey. It's going to be about the journey so that the destination can come later.
Yeah,
I get that, but it should be the destination.
Not when you're paying
and
somebody.
It's not the company. Those guys don't. Those guys, they'll make friends and they care about like playing with each other and all that stuff. It doesn't. I disagree with Mikel Arteta in that when it comes to that. It's not the company. It's the destination for those guys because they're making too much money for them to worry about the journey or about the players they're playing with. They need.
I mean, they're not there to make friends.
They will only care about the company if it gets them to the destination.
Yeah, you always enjoy the company you're around when you're winning games.
Exactly.
So.
But anyway, you should watch it because he's got some motivational speeches that you would be fired up. Georgie, you would be fired up going into the game.
So I need to watch in the morning before we go training then.
Yeah, it's good. But anyway, let's just finish it there. We could talk about, there's the results across the board are all typical results. There are a lot of teams that are going to finish 10th through 15th, 10th through 16th. But I think we covered most of the teams that are going to be at the top. The only one we forgot to talk about, we didn't get to, was Fulham. But I'm just telling you right now, Fulham is going to stay in the Premier League, and Mitrovic is going to be a household name by the time the season is over.
Mitrovic is already a household name that got relegated 5 times.
I hope Arsenal beats them convincingly, which they will. But
Mitrovic scores a hat trick. Arsenal win 4-3.
I hope Mitrovic scores because I like.
There is a team that we didn't talk about that is their coach, Brighton. So good the way they play. Yeah,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
My prediction for Brighton was what? Top 10. Ahead of Manchester United. Now, Manchester United are back, apparently.
Manchester United are back.
That's what everybody's saying.
You know what we need to do? We need to talk more about other leagues as well. Because PSG, I mean, it's hard to talk about other leagues when like things that you know are going to happen week in and week out.
PSG is going to win the league.
PSG is smashing everyone.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich is smashing everyone. Real Madrid smashing everyone.
7-1.
Yeah.
That's...
You should have seen some of the goals, though. By the way, did you see that first goal in the first 10 seconds?
No.
You got to watch it.
Have fun, Sadio Mane. Go win the Bundesliga without even playing.
Off the kickoff. Set play off the kickoff. Scored a goal. Boom, boom. In behind. Mbappe scores.
I actually watched... It was on TikTok. There's actually a set play the teams are actually doing now of the kickoff.
My brother sent it to me.
Where the guy kicks it back to, I don't know, another person in the middle. They act like about to play a long ball. Their whole team drops. They play it back to the guy that played the ball originally. The guy turns. The other team steps up to press,
That's what happened.
and that's how they scored.
They played it. They played it back.
Mm-hmm.
They thought they were gonna play the long ball, but then Mbappe plays it back, or maybe not Mbappe. Somebody else plays it back, and then they just kind of go forward. And then instead of playing the long ball, they play him again, and he checks in again.
Yeah.
He drops it off to Messi, and then Messi plays the long ball. Mbappe's in by himself, chips the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It was literally like it's a set piece.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My brother sent it to me. He's like, dude, you should try this because this is.
Yeah, I mean, and it will catch at most teams off guard.
Yeah.
Like you don't.
It worked really well.
It's crazy.
Perfect. But that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. We'll finish it up here. Georgie, I'll catch you in the next one, and we'll check back in on Liverpool and see how Liverpool's doing. But that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.